Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. So yeah, I stole Derek's video. The other day I had a chat with Derek from BigDGuitars. We talked about, guitar building in the pandemic, upcoming projects, the project that we did together a while back. It was a good talk. And, we did it by video conference because that is apparently how people communicate these days. So that's what we've got coming up. I'm going to show you that. He recorded it all and he posted it. So yeah, I stole his video. I also learned something from this one for if and when I start doing live Q&As and stuff like that. Apparently this camera that I'm using when it's being recorded through a computer is weird. So you will see it's awful. It's got like the red square in there for focus and this stuff outlining it. I got to figure out how to deal with that. But I will, and we'll move on if we decide to do some live streams on this channel. But for now, without further ado, because it is a long discussion, let's get into that. Thanks, Derek.
So I promised you guys Derek and Brad conversation for over a year. We haven't done it, but joining me is Mr. Brad. We're here to talk.
You haven't promised me any conversations, man.
I promised everyone else, and then we've talked about doing these, and finally got a global pandemic has caused us to connect a little bit. This is YouTube's favorite two guitar builders, right?
Of course.
For the 20 people that share our channel and will watch it immediately, right?
Well, this is what it took for people to want to actually, or for us to actually want to talk to each other, I assume, is now we can't go outside and speak to anybody else.
Yeah. For us, I got 3 kids and my wife, and we've been stuck in the house. So it's my job is essential. So having to come into the office every once in a while has been good. It's been a good break. I actually haven't been able to build as much as I wanted to. I've got like 5 or 6 different projects I've been working on. I just haven't been able to get to them. So that's been hard because you're supposed to have more free time, and I actually don't. So I just haven't gotten there.
Same boat. I thought when this thing came down and they said, you're going to have to work from home. I'm like, oh, well, that saves me an hour a day in the commute. I'm going to have so much time for projects.
Yeah.
Not so much.
No. I mean, I always have a lot of projects going, and to get the videos out the door, you've got to have at least 4 or 5 things going because you got glue time, assembly time, routing setup, and all that. So like, there's never just one project. There's at least 4 or 5, and so
absolutely,
as I'm letting things dry, I just never get there, And then so now it takes me 20 minutes to get something set up. I didn't get to it, so another day passes. So my videos have dried up. I've done some commentary videos, which sometimes people like, but everyone wants to know about the 53 gold top I'm working on, and I'm like, I'm working on it, but that 5 minutes a day doesn't allow me to actually do the setup that I need to.
Yeah, I have the new shipping issues that we're all encountering now have made things interesting. I'm working on that metal top guitar.
Yeah.
And foolish as I am, I looked at the wiring harness and thought, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm sure it'll work out. And then I tried to put in a couple of humbuckers that are 2-conductor. And I feel like this thing's designed to handle like 8-conductor. I don't know what's going on. There's more colors than I can name. So now I've been waiting for like 3 weeks to get in the new ones that I need to actually finish this build. And I think there are 3 people on YouTube who are going to disown me.
I'm surprised. So like it was interesting as we started off, my view time and everything sort of went through the roof, and the revenue kind of didn't follow. Like some of the ad rates have dropped, but I did get more engagement. I did get people watching, and now, 2 months in, it's like everyone's like, yeah, we're just done. We're done trying to be productive or get in anywhere.
Everyone just wants to hit the patio now. Even up here in Canada, it's warm these days.
Yeah. We're in Chicago, and we're finally getting to like a real spring. Summer's around the corner, but I couldn't imagine doing this in the winter. I think we would all be dead just because we'd all kill each other being stuck with, all the snow and everything. So we've been lucky that way.
Really wouldn't leave the house. Yeah.
Yeah. So how have you been handling like the builds, and you've got multiple projects going, like what else you got coming? What are you thinking?
Well, not a whole heck of a lot has changed for me, honestly. Before I was get into the shop on the weekends, try and do a little bit at home during the week kind of guy, just because I've got a different job.
Yeah.
And nice, yeah, same deal. I've got a bunch of kits coming up to build, of course, and I'm going to do some scratch work finally, some scratch necks and stuff. And I'm in the process of finalizing some product development on. Have you ever seen my goofy metal art stuff that I
Yeah.
do?
Yep.
Yeah, we're doing some pick guards and some custom options there. It's going to be. I won't waste your time explaining it all, but it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
it.
that the last guitar you've been working on, I loved. I know you didn't like changing the color, but I loved seeing the same guitar in different colors. Like I've done that a couple times. Not everyone really understands how much time and effort it takes to like get something stripped back down, but I love seeing
Yeah,
multiple versions of the same thing in different colors because one color may stand out better than the other, and like the green really came out nice. I think that's really sweet.
thanks. People don't seem to realize that painting the same project three, four times. That's how we get to the point where we can do it right the first time. Sometimes.
It's funny. I haven't had as many beginner questions as just guys in it. So I've
Yeah,
had more guys who are like mid builders getting involved more so than like just starting out. And I thought I'd get more people just starting out than,
yeah,
and I was surprised because I've tried a couple like beginning series and those have never really gotten traction. But as soon as I do something that's like sort of mid level grade, it goes like wildfire. I was like, I didn't expect that at all, And then
nice.
my guys are I do all the stain tops. I didn't do them for a couple months. Everyone complains. I post a bunch of them, and then I get no views. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
What do you want from me?
Exactly.
Yeah. My most popular stuff is more of the what direction do I paint the spray or point the spray can type thing, which is fun. The information's got to get out there.
Yeah.
How are you? You're still building when you can?
I have a couple builds I've got. Like I did take a break. I bought a bunch of redwood tops from Kimball, and I did
Nice.
an inlay with my CNC. So I've been playing with the CNC more. I've tuned it up a little bit better. I have like these sort of high-end designed guitars that I want to do more of. I just don't. I don't have the time. Like
Yeah.
I keep telling people like this is like a 10-year thing for me. In 10 years, kids will be out of college. I could probably pull back and get into it. So right now for me it's like experiment, see what kind of lands with people, and then in 10 years let's roll with it. So I've got one guitar that, that's mine. The whiskey barrel guitar is like my thing. And then
Those are awesome.
thank you. I'm trying to figure out what else I can do outside of that. And I think I've got another maybe two projects in my head that could be like another line extension, but I just don't have. I get like half hour a day, So you're filming, you got the kids and the wife. Like how much, okay, kids go to bed, give me a half hour, or on the weekends I can get 3 or 4 hours, so I can get a lot of stuff done. But it's like these spurts.
Well, as much as I hate to compliment a guy who literally did a paint dump on a guitar, nobody quite does the same kind of stain work you do. So if you're buying stuff from Kimball, I'm sure that's going to be, wow, your usual level of
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. With that project that we went back and forth with, like as much as we joke, I was really impressed with your level of artistic. Like I don't have that. Like that's not me. Like I'm doing good at the stains, but like you actually like put art together. And as much as the dump was like funny, like I tried like something outside of mine. I'm like, either this will be like an awesome work or it'll be a spectacular failure. And then when people look at it, they're like, it's awesome. It sucks. I'm like, well, it was exactly what I wanted.
I've been trying to figure out for ages how to do, and I think you did some swirling work at one point, if I remember
Yeah,
correctly,
yeah.
because I was looking at your channel trying to learn how to do it, uh, and I never could get it right. And you figured out this paint dump technique that looks very similar,
It is.
and I'm gonna have to learn it one of these days. But
Yeah,
I gotta wait for everybody to forget about the Home Depot guitar kit challenge before I go and try and steal your technique, or I'll never hear the end of it.
someone will lay onto you for it. I mean, we all watched Mr. Dean swirl a gazillion
Oh
times,
yeah.
and there's nothing on there. There's no, there's no recipe,
No. Can't
and
even tell what he's doing with his water.
you don't
Like,
even know, like, is it borax? Is it not? Is it cold? Is it hot?
yeah.
And it's like they're perfect. And I tried. I mean, I tested and I tested. I must have spent $500-$600. Did not make it up in video ad revenue or sold. And I'm like, I've given up again. Like I bought more
Yeah.
enamel paints. And I'm like, God, like I can't do it. And that's the one thing I wanted to perfect. And the dump is probably the closest thing I can find to get something that at least is consistent. Because a lot of times when you're dumping the paints in, they'll start to separate, and then you get this like muddy look, and it's
Yeah.
terrible. And
I don't think he has a YouTube channel, but the guy from A Swirled Apart, it's called. I love the name too. I mean, might just be me, but he does awesome work, and he did one recently. He sent it to me on Instagram. It's got a color shift, so it's a very vibrant, like teal and black metallic swirl from the top, and then as you move down, the teal fades into a dark navy-ish effect until you can barely see it. It's insane.
wow. Yeah, I think that's the one thing that people don't realize doing guitars is like you have the woodworking, which is a set of skills, and then you move into finishing, and finishing is its own set of skills. Every time I spray paint now, I'm like, would Brad approve of this spray method? Because it's like, I'm like, no, it's not his method, but like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
You've never followed my method. And for me, the most nerve wracking part of the guitar build is tuning the thing because it doesn't matter how many times I do it. Somebody's always gonna say, "Why don't you tune it before you demo it?" I have a tuner. What?
I,
What?
I get that every once in a while too. I
Like
did that.
tiny ears. I can't hear what's going on.
Yeah, I did what was the review of the Thomas Harmon, or the Tomman, whatever,
Right.
Harley
Yeah.
Benton, and the Chipson, and they're like, it's out of tune. I'm like, well, they're out of tune within 5 minutes of playing, but like they're literally tuned up as I start playing, and they're sort
Yeah.
of intonated, but like there's always someone that hears better than I do, but you know,
Those
and
refurb jobs you do are insane.
yeah, the gold top, I'm getting
Yeah.
close on that one. That one, I actually I'm working on the CNC inlay. So the inlay's cracked on the headstock. I sawed it off, and now I'm trying to reproduce it in a new inlay, and I'm gonna give it to him as a gift. And I'm like, this is like, it's here, and now I'm like, oh. And people are like, why isn't the video ready? I'm like, I'm not 100% sure how I'm gonna do this yet. And at
Uh,
times I'm like, I'll just re-glue it back on, and I'm like, no, because then I need that piece of wood solid as the strength. So like, and
yeah.
I thought about cutting the inlay out and repatching it, but I know over time you'll see the lines from it. And I was like, no, I just got to put a whole new inlay.
This
And
kind of work, it's as much about figuring out how to do something as it is just doing it half the time. Like some of the scratch builds, I don't know, I don't really do them, but some of the scratch builds, you follow the process. Is probably after you've done a few fairly well laid out. But when you're going in trying to refurb something or fix up a kit that's got problems or whatever, like, you need a plan.
yeah, I didn't plan real well with like the Paul Reed Smith one that I did, and that was just a disaster.
Is
Like
that where you redid the entire fretboard?
I didn't redo the fretboard, but I had to get that epoxy sealer out to restain the top.
Oh, right.
So what is that stuff? You know more about finishes than me. What is that like epoxy sealer?
My guess is it's probably like a Simtex style polyester sealer.
Yeah.
Might be an epoxy, but that polyester crap, I don't even spray it. And that's like I spray pretty much everything, but I don't spray that stuff because you put it in the gun and it is like resin within a few minutes. So
Uh,
if you're not running a ton of, like, it'll harden right in the gallon. So if you're not running a ton of it, if you're not somebody who's spraying pretty much every day, then it's a great product if you're the Fender factory or a shop that does exclusively that kind of work. Dries insanely fast. You'd probably love it for those fabric tops too, because you can throw some down on
oh
the
yeah.
on the wood, sand flat, do your fabric, and then seal it in like nobody's business. But yeah, it's the worst when it comes to sanding, trying to get it out of there.
Oh,
It was terrible. I mean, I remember
yeah.
I did like a preview video and I had my dust mask on and my jacket. And I'm all covered in shit, and I was like, "This is the dumbest thing I have done in a long time." I was like,
It's the worst day of my life.
yeah. And people are like, "You should have known." I'm like, "Well, I did. I just didn't think it'd be that bad, you know." And so I tell guys like, "Oh, can you refinish my PRS?" I was like, "Hell no, no, I won't even touch it. Like, I won't even go near it now."
Won't be staying in it, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they just do a transparent tint coat over top. It'd make things a little easier because they do a
Yeah,
wipe dye, I think, for the most part, and
yeah.
ugh, then they basically, seal it in plastic that nobody can get through. It's like a force field.
But yeah, and the worst, that was the worst thing is I was like, oh, I think I can repair some of the chip codes. You know, the guy who had it before beat the hell out of it. And I was like, oh, it'll be easy to repair. And no, it just wasn't, you know. And
So much different than lacquer.
oh, yeah. Because I was like, I'll take on any Gibson project now, all
Yeah,
of them. Because, you know, you can essentially just wipe them down with thinner acetone and it's coming off. Uh,
yeah.
but, you know, even I refinished at, one of the better videos I did recently was I took a polyester finish telly, like a blonde telly, and I aged it. And I probably overaged it, but it had that same finish. But at least I got it to look like, you know, because you could drag that thing behind your car for 5 minutes, and it's really not going to do that much. So like I
No.
was wailing on it for a while to get it at least somewhat looking like it's been at least played.
Oh, it's brutal doing that with poly because they don't look played. Like it
No,
doesn't matter how long.
and it's still like I got it to look better, but it
Yeah.
doesn't look that good.
And if you're not very good at it, like you've got some practice at this stuff, but if you get like the rookie mode version of trying to relic a poly finish, and it's like they took some sandpaper to one piece, realized they couldn't get through it down to the wood, so that's just scratched, and then they tried to like nick off a piece, but because it's hard plastic, it's just like a chunk that's missing.
Chunk, yeah. You
Ugh,
get like 180 grit, and then you've got like
yeah,
600 grit. You're like, that doesn't look. What did you do? Like you
not
stopped halfway through.
what happened here.
Yeah,
And they never take off the pick guard either. So as soon as you go to remove that, it's just like a
brand new.
pristine section underneath.
It's crazy. What uh, what other sort of things do you want to get into outside, like with these custom builds? Are you gonna do your own design? Or are you gonna sort of just play on what's out there? Or what are you thinking?
Yeah, well, the guards that I'm doing will be in a variety of unique designs. So that's kind of project one for me is get that going. And to get just slightly further into it, it's the plan isn't just like standard replacements or even sorry, my
Sorry.
camera only films for 10 minutes at a time. So it shuts itself off. So yeah, the plan isn't just standard replacements in an interesting finish necessarily. It'll be in different shapes, but also some completely like not practical stuff that you could bolt onto various positions to almost like a kit. So like what I'm looking for here is almost a bolt-on aesthetic that you can do for a cyberpunk type thing or the
Oh yeah,
metal look
yeah.
or steampunk or whatever. So that's kind of part one. Then I've got some stock bodies they're not kits, they're just bodies that I'm gonna play with, but they're not super standard. So I'm gonna be making my own necks for those. And then, eventually I can be a grown up like you and build my own guitars, hopefully, but we'll see. For now I'll keep doing the Lego version.
How is so you? I don't know if everyone like I know you've done some shop tours, but you have sort of like two shops. You've got your shop in the house, then you've got this awesome industrial shop. Is that
Yeah.
explain that a little bit more?
Okay, so yeah, the shop in the house is literally the corner of my garage,
Yeah.
where I hang up my tools. And there are a few kicking around in other parts of the house, but I can only commandeer so much of the place without getting a divorce, and then I won't be able to afford the house. So,
Got to keep going
uh,
because that way, like I've just taken over everything. I'm
yeah.
like,
Well, I've got this room too, right? Like you don't see. And then the shop, I started working at that place when I was like 14ish,
okay,
doing, it's an interesting spot. They do a lot of different stuff. So I started out, making boxes and packing stuff, and then uh, moved my way into some machinist work, into some custom manufacturing. And now that I'm in a completely different career, I still go in on the weekends and do some of their custom work. And kind of on the flip side, they let me use the place. So they got a lot of cool stuff there. I've been, yeah, been in and out of that shop for a long time.
Yeah, I was when I started, I was 22, and I ruined my rental apartment's carpet
Nice.
because I spilled some stain, or I spilled some poly finish on a V I was refinishing, and then there was a guy down the street who had a shop that I, became his shop rat. And then in exchange for being a shop rat, I would work nights for him every once in a while. And
Nice.
then, we got into the first house. I think I was 25, 26, and just started like accumulation mode. Plus, my grandfather had passed, and I took some
Yeah.
of his stuff. So, like, it's just like this slow, slow, slow accumulation. And then as I was doing more builds, I started, I don't know, it's like the internet was weird in the early day because I connected with a couple of dealers in Cleveland. I started making bodies for them. And as I kept making bodies, I just took that money and re-put the money in and re-put the money in and re-put the money in. And
Yeah.
it takes a while. Like my brother's got a shop in the city in Chicago that he was renting. He moved out of the city and he's like, now I got to buy tools. I'm like, well, that's what I told you, man. Like it takes time and money to get there.
Yeah.
So
It's a slow process.
It is, and you got to keep your wife or spouse or whatever happy along the way.
Yeah.
And I did not do a good job of doing that. That's my big failure.
Finally at a spot where I can start to make fun of my dad because I have more and better tools than he does.
Yeah, so I think the slow build has helped me get to a spot where like people walk into because I have two shops. I got the garage shop, which is all the big heavy tools, and then I've got the basement shop where I do the assembly. And I took about an eighth of the garage or the basement when we moved in, and then the guitars started selling, and then I took the other eighth. The problem is the eighth is as you walk down the stairs and you're like, assembly bench and clamping bench, and then I still need a spot that's essentially a studio to do the filming. And so, like I really need like a full unfinished basement. And I was lucky when we found this house, when we moved back, it had, I could at least customize it. But it's that space versus what you can or can't do. Like I promised my wife we could fit the car in the garage this winter, and I bought 200 whiskey barrels, and I was like, she pulled it in, I think, once.
That's that makes things a little tougher.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot tougher. So at least this next winter for sure, because I'll work through a bunch of barrels, and I've realized I'm not going to use all of them. So like some of the junk stuff I've been scrapping or burning or giving away. So, but it's amazing.
Make a few custom tops for people and just ship them out and glue it on your own guitar.
Yeah, it's amazing though. Like you definitely need some space. It's time and learning and effort. Like I have very few guys hit it right off the bat. Like even now I'm trying to get my wife's YouTube channel going, and I tell her like I was lucky to have a channel going 10 years ago. And
what's your wife's YouTube channel?
She does yoga and exercise stuff.
Nice.
That's her full-time job. But she's trying to get it started now, and it just doesn't do it. So like I know go ahead.
Tougher market by the day, YouTube. Like, there are so many channels out there. It gets more and more difficult to find your niche and get people actually watching your stuff. But if you're doing it for fun, if you like what you do, it's not so bad.
Yeah, for me, like this is still, it's like my jobby. I tell people, I just don't do as much of the hobby as I wanted to anymore. So like I like experimenting and playing, but sell that guitar and make money, or just, screw around on another top. I'm like, well, let's go make some money, like, hey, we're going on vacation 2 months. Like it'd be great just to go out to dinner every night and not, pay for
it's an expensive hobby too. Like getting it to pay for itself sometimes is a little bit of you got to do something, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a hump you got to get over. I just haven't gotten there yet. So we'll see.
You're over 50,000 now
I'm
for
over
subscribers.
50,000. Yeah, I want to get to 100. So I've got 500, like 550 videos, and I've got about 54,000 subscribers, I think. I think for
Nice.
me, if I can get to like 1,000 videos, 100,000 subscribers, like I think I'll be in a good spot in 10 years at that point. Because then I think everyone will have known me. I'll have a couple like signature builds or signature restores.
Yeah.
And then at that point, you're going to type in how to restore a guitar. Most likely, it'll be one of mine. I mean, I know there's other people that do better work, but it's like they're not
I
putting.
don't know about that.
But you know what I mean? Like there's not the same level of detail. Like I grew. Did you watch This Old House? Do you guys have that equivalent in Canada? Like Norm?
I believe I've seen that, but to be fair, most of our TV up here comes from you guys.
But like I watched that with my dad on Saturday nights, like before my parents would go out, and my dad would always comment of like, "Yeah, it's real easy for him because he's got like 50 shops and everything's all set up." And I'm like, "Yeah, but he also was like, it's entertaining and it's fun. Like that's kind of where I
Yeah.
want to get this channel to be. Is like, you come in once a week, you can watch an episode of me doing something interesting. Um, this gold top rebuild will probably get me over another hump. I've got another weird build coming that it's like you have the same problem. You want to do something fresh that's different. That's just not like another refinish or another rebuild. So like I try to vary it up, and I think it's been working pretty well. I do like watching your old spray videos because like some of the techniques, like your Ghost Flames video, like I still watch that, and I'm like I still can't do that.
That was a weird one. I was like, this is crazy enough. It just might work, and I'm not sure that it did.
But it's funny, like when you look at your most popular videos, and like, did you think those would be it? Like as you look back now.
No, and a couple of them. So a couple of them, I was like, wow, this will be useful. The Ghost Flames one was kind of out of nowhere, but a couple of the other ones, I look back and go, I've done updates on that. This is just a bad video. Like it's poor. This is a poorly made video that people are watching. I don't know why. Like the information's fine, but the video's crap.
Yeah.
So looking back at some of my old videos is borderline embarrassing. But oh well, what can you do?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I've got a lot of older videos that I need now to refresh. But like, do you take that down if it's got the views? You're in the YouTube algorithm. Like, I'm like, what do I do? Like I got a black burst video and I changed the title "How Not to Do a Black Burst" because it doesn't fade right and it doesn't look right.
Yeah.
There's a couple 100,000 views on it. I'm like, if I delete this, where do I land?
Well, and people are still, people are still more likely to find that, right? So what I've started doing on the occasion that I do a refresh video, just to try and direct people to the information, because that's the whole point of my channel. Like, let's be honest, I'm never gonna be a full-time guitar builder or anything like that, but I'm trying to teach people stuff. So the intent, or the way that I go about it, trying to direct people to the information, is I just make the new video, put the information there, and put a card and a link in the description, trying to direct people to a better version, to the updated content. And you used to be able to do an annotation where you could literally write, "This video sucks, go to the other one." You can't do that anymore, but still, you can throw an update their way, and hopefully it starts to move people toward, because things change, products change, our techniques change. We do this so much that we just find better ways of doing stuff eventually.
I have found out that doing the pinned comment is the better way of having any sort of like interaction than writing the description out. Like a pinned comment for me, especially like I want people to buy the dies through Angelus and I want that kickback. So like having it in the description doesn't do anything. Saying it on the video doesn't do anything. But putting that pinned comment, it's like, oh my God, this is the first thing people read versus anything else. So I figured some of this stuff out, which is good.
Well, that's a new tip for me. So I guess I know what I'm doing later.
Pin your comments. You'll be like, oh, we finally made it.
spend and well, not a lot of time, but I think probably on 4 or 5 occasions I've had to go in and pin someone else's comment because they've just corrected me. Like, oh yeah,
I got in a
oops.
fight with someone on a coil tap versus a coil split, and they were an electrical engineer, and they're like, it's a tap, it's not a split. And I'm like, I think there's so much misinformation. I'm not going to take it to like that extra. But like then
Semantic, but all right.
maybe 50 comments on the one thing, and I was like, oh my god, like I'm not. My problem is I misspeak a lot. Like
Right.
my I don't want to say not dyslexic, but I at times use the wrong word or the wrong inflection, and
Yeah.
I don't re-edit. I keep it sort of natural. I think that's sort of the appeal. But man, when someone is like, the language police, and they're like, well, you're putting it out there. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not an English major. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I'm like a dude. I'm an analytics dude building guitars because I need like an outlet. Like, give me a break, Like, neither of those are my
Not,
strong suit.
not making myself out to be a linguistics expert here. Like, take it easy.
You got any new pieces of gear or anything that's coming? Your amp setup is actually pretty nice. I'm envying you a little bit. I've got, I don't know if you saw, I did the Walter Becker auction from Steely Dan.
Right. Yeah.
And I picked up this Vox AC30 hand wired. I got a great deal on it. And I thought it was going to be like the centerpiece of my rig. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's, I can't get it at the right volume to like get it to sound good. And my wife hates my playing anyway, and the kids yell at me. So like I keep going back and forth to different pieces of gear. The funny thing is I bought this orange amp at that same auction.
Right.
And I use it all the time because I can dial it in at a low volume, and I'm like, this thing's great. So like I'm envious of your rack back there for sure.
Well, this thing's, I'm supposed to one of these days fix that tube amp in the corner there.
Oh yeah.
But I know about as much about electronics as I do about space travel, so I try and keep it simple. This guy's actually not bad because the head has a little practice speaker in it.
Yeah.
So you can do like the practice speaker or the 5 ohm setting. So uh, that tends to keep me from getting stuff thrown at me while I'm occasionally trying to play guitar. But as you probably know, if you've ever seen me play, I don't do it very often.
No, it's funny, like, because every once in a while I'll do a live video and a guy will like play such and such. I'm like, that's not me, man. Like I'm
Yeah,
a
what am I to do?
yeah, like I'm not Justin. There's a reason why I found other guys to play my stuff because like I suck.
Yeah.
And then most people don't, like most of us are into guitars or whatever, but they don't actually read. Like I read all Leo Fender's books and stuff. Like he didn't play at all, and it's like
Yeah.
so it's funny as the more I've dug into this business and industry, like you get like the awesome player builders, and then you get like the commentary guys, and there's just such a different mix of us. And like I'm the hackathon guy who got lucky having an old channel type of thing sometimes.
Yeah, I guess I'd be the painter who kind of just stumbled into guitars one day and never found his way back out.
I see you got a good whiskey collection back there, man. That's my other, I like that.
That's the Scotch shelf predominantly.
Okay.
And then the bourbon is downstairs, and the rye is actually mostly in the basement now. I drink too much, but oh well.
Yeah. But that's if I can have a drink and do some guitar work, actually do the guitar work and then have a drink. That's usually a pretty good.
There you go. Yeah.
I have yet.
The problem is if you try and do them at the same time, I almost invariably end up with some sawdust or something in there. So
I can have a beer and do a little bit of work, like sanding or whatever, but for some reason I cannot drink the heavy stuff and do any woodworking. Like it's just I know better, which is good, but like
yeah, it's probably for the best.
Probably for the best. So, what else you got coming up today or tomorrow? Anything? I got this gold top. I finally found the people who sell the gold top flakes. I'll have that video. So like the actual same supplier as the other company in Nashville. I'll be using that. I'll post a video on that, and then
I'm gonna have to look into that one.
Yeah, that's interesting because they have a lot of like copper flakes, and I figured that might be something that you'd be interested in. The company is based in Wisconsin. I guess they've been in business for long enough that they're the original guys. So I've got that, and then I'm finishing up a build for Kimball, and then a couple random things here and there. What do you got in the next couple days here? Anything?
Yeah, off the press here. Those pickups should be coming in for the metal top, so that's coming up quick. Tomorrow should be the next one in the series on that Ultimate SG kit build.
Yep.
That's almost done. Customer's gonna want that sooner rather than later. And then a couple carved top or carved guitars. I've done the carving work, so one of them's getting leafing and an epoxy fill.
Oh, cool.
And the other one just needs some accent airbrush work and a custom guard. And then I think I've got that hollow body ES style kit build coming up too, and the acoustic one, Jesus.
I love what you did
Yeah.
on the sparkle with that. That's an interesting build. You know, like a lot of guys ask me where to buy like quality Chinese stuff or quality kits. It's hard to say sometimes.
That guy's not quality. I got the ES one that I'm looking forward to is from Solo. So that one looks like it's going to be a good build.
Yeah.
As opposed to a nightmare.
Yeah. The kit we got, that SG kit we did together, that was a good quality build. I've got to do more kit stuff. I just haven't, for some reason I like making my own body. Like
I get that.
I find like a little bit of like shop therapy in that. I hate the sanding, but like everything else, I love cutting the wood, routing the wood.
Yeah.
I just got to figure out a faster way to sand.
I like having a base to work off and just absolutely mangling it. That's it's been a recent joy of mine. Like, how do I make this look nothing like the guitar kit that it's supposed to look like?
That's funny.
Yeah. Do like Ben Crow and just start chambering the chambers.
Yeah, it's interesting watching him go through his journey, and he was sort of like, his first video was that PRS aging that he got blasted for. Like, he aged a PRS with a knife and he just got reamed, and then he really took off. Like, his personality and his style is awesome. I've talked to him a couple times. It's interesting to he's got such an appeal. You watch Fletcher, right? You've seen Fletcher's videos from New Zealand. I don't know what happened. He hasn't posted. He's got some great in-depth stuff. My other guy is Freddie. Freddie Fretz. He does the Les Paul builds. He's in. I think he's outside of Toronto somewhere. He's got.
I'll have to look him up.
Yeah, it's a smaller channel, but man, he really does a nice job.
Been watching some of Highline Guitars water-based stuff lately. That guy knows his way around a water-based finish for sure.
Yeah, he's been doing more CNC stuff too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
I go back and forth with what I've got. Sometimes I want to do more CNC. Sometimes I want to do more traditional. And I've only gotten into the CNC only because like some of this logo work, like I need to figure it out.
Right.
I can't reproduce the logo that needs to be done without knowing that system and setup. So I finally got that machine tuned in. But but that's also the other thing with the guitar stuff is I like to have my hand in a bunch of different, play around with it.
Yeah.
So,
got to keep it interesting.
Got to keep it interesting. All right, man. We'll call it here. We got about
Sounds good.
35 minutes. Thank you, sir, for joining me. We'll see.
Thank you for setting it up.
We'll see how the fans enjoy this. I'll get this video over to you, and we'll cut it here.